Good evening, friends, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. You know the drill. We're retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, you're in the right spot. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when he's available, when we go live or upload another video. Tonight, we're going to talk to you about the Wade Wilson case. His attorney is present today in court just 7 days before his sentencing by Judge Thompson to request a brain scan, and the judge approved it. But the confusing part about this is just on July 22nd, there was a hearing in court on July 22nd, and they hashed all this out. And nothing happened between July 22nd and fast forward today, August 20th. We only have 7 days. Now there's only 6 days until this hearing. He's ordered a brain scan to see if he has brain damage. We know he's not mentally right. He's not all there. He uses the drugs as a crutch and says that that's what sets him off. But there's no brain damage. This guy knew full well at what he's doing and what he has done, what he's done in the past, what he continues to do with manipulating women that call him in jail, that are on his kiosk. We hear the calls. We hear Jumpsuit Pablo phone calls from prison night after night with these women that are calling, Kiosk Kristine. Last night we heard from Breezy, may she rest in peace. And the common denominator is that he's a narcissistic control freak, and all he wants to do is get things out of people. His father, the girls, his boyfriend, Joey, the list goes on. And who else are we going to hear from? Because don't forget, he's still able to make phone calls up until he gets transferred after the sentencing to a state prison. After the sentencing, he won't be able to get those phone calls. But up until next Tuesday, the 27th, he'll be able to get those calls. So we may have quite a bit of phone calls to listen to. And I know that the girls who he was communicating with and the boys, his boyfriend, Joey, that they are all telling him, if he is communicating with someone current, that, hey, people are playing your phone calls. Hey, people are nightly playing your phone calls on YouTube and TikTok. So I don't think he gives a shit. He has nothing to lose. He is going to spend either the rest of his life in prison without the option of parole, life in prison without parole, or it's going to be the death penalty. Both will be torturous for him, because we know life in jail and prison. He said that he doesn't want to do that. He'd rather have the needle. He said it to his father, I'd rather get the needle. So it would be a lot of suffering for him mentally, physically, emotionally, if he was held life in prison. If he was to receive the death penalty, which, again, either one he's never going to see the light of day. And the death penalty is going to take probably 2 decades to complete, 20 years. It's in the state of Florida. I read the facts. It's around 22 years before the death penalty is carried out, and it's carried out, and it comes at a cost. It costs so much more to house a death penalty inmate than it does to house someone for life in prison. And I don't know how that equation and math works out, but either way, this scumbag doesn't deserve to breathe the same air that we all breathe. And Popeye the Bird is listening as well. He agrees. He agrees with me that he does not deserve the any attention, and he's getting a ton of it as we speak. He's getting a ton of it. So let's take a listen to the court from today. This is the court coverage. His defense team asked for a brain scan for their client, and they're doing everything that they have to do to protect him legally. And they're asking for a brain scan. And I see in the chat, people are saying, here, you can't get a brain scan if there isn't one. That's a good one. I like it. Thank you for being here, and thank you to the moderators and everyone. Let's take a listen to this.
Wade Wilson, the man convicted of murdering 2 Cape Coral women, will have his brain scanned before his sentencing next week. I'm Fox 4's Alex Orenchuk, and I was in court on Tuesday when a judge signed off on those scans. Wilson's attorney, Lee Hollander, argued Wilson should be able to have his brain examined with MRI tests and a CT scan. Hollander said that a doctor found signs that Wilson might have brain damage, and he wants to know for sure before the judge decides how Wilson will be punished.
Based on a report by Dr. Rubino, he recommended, well, first off, he found evidence indicating, possibly indicating traumatic brain injury.
Without objection from the state, Judge Thompson granted the motion. The Lee County Sheriff's Office will escort Wilson to the testing. The location and time of the testing are being kept secret for security purposes. Wilson was convicted on June 12th for the murders of 35-year-old Kristine Melton and 43-year-old Diane Ruiz. The results of his brain scan will be received before his sentencing next Tuesday. At Wilson's sentencing, Judge Thompson will decide whether to move forward with a jury's death penalty recommendation or give Wilson life in prison. Fort Myers, Alex Oren.
So I want to just add in here, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to make a prediction here. Judge Thompson, who seems to be a fair judge, is going to look at everything that comes back to him. And just like in Shonda Van Ark and Paul Ferguson, when Paul Ferguson was being sentenced, remember the attorneys for Paul Ferguson said that they wanted a mental health evaluation of him. It wasn't the same as this, but they wanted a mental health evaluation, and the judge threw more than the maximum at him. I think that the judge is going to get all the facts. They are going to dot their I's and cross their T's here. And he is on Tuesday, next Tuesday, which I'll cover it live. Next Tuesday, he will have all the legal issues separated, and he will be able to impose penalty. And that penalty, I believe, will be the death penalty. Don't forget our victims here. Kristine Melton, 35, a good woman, a great all-around person, and Diane Ruiz, mother of 2 boys, 43 years young. He savagely took their lives, and especially Mrs. Ruiz, he ran her over 10 to 20 times, in his own words, to make her look like spaghetti. And this was a heinous crime, and if there was ever a death penalty case, this one falls in that category. But I want to go to Court TV because on July 22nd, last month, July 22nd, that's almost a full month from right now, current day, they had a hearing and they talked about this very situation, about the attorneys wanted to delay the sentencing, and they didn't get to delay the sentencing. They did get to delay the sentencing. And what was crazy about it is this is July 22nd. The judge told them by August 16th, I want all these reports done. I mean, by a show of hands, has anybody forgotten about that hearing? And I'm going to play it for you guys because I think it's important for us to see how the defense is playing games here. Wade Wilson's defense is dragging their feet because back in July 22nd, the judge told them, get these scans done and have everything done. He even went as far as calling these doctors, Dr. Rubino and Dr. Brannon. And you're going to hear about Dr. Rubino and Brannon in these hearings. And I'm going to play this. This is from last month. And you got to trust me on this. It's the date of this was July 22nd. July 22nd, people. So let's listen to this. I'm not going to play it all because it's like 24 minutes, but listen to how the judge tells the defense, I want this done and completed by August 16th. When was August 16th? Last Friday, the Friday that just passed. And they didn't get it done. Now, fast forward to August 20th, they're requesting these scans. How are they going to be able to get it done by the 27th? I don't know.
All right, let the record reflect State's President, Defense Counsel, and the defendant are all present. You can be seated.
Thank you.
All right, so I have reviewed the court file and listened to the arguments regarding the motion to continue. As I said before, in the motion for new trial and judgment of acquittal, I've reserved ruling on that. The motion to continue, I believe I need more information. So what I'd like to do now is get those doctors on the phone so I can talk to them about their availability.
I don't have their phone numbers with me.
All right, well, I can look them up.
And the judge proceeds to look up the doctor's phone numbers, and he Googles their numbers and he calls them and he gets them on the phone. And they're all saying that we have nothing. We were hired. The one doctor was hired in April of 2024, and he had not one stitch of information from April of 2024. This is in July. The judge calls him here, and I'm going to spare you guys these phone calls, but he gets on the phone and talks to one of the two doctors. And the doctors were like, I haven't received anything as of July 22nd. And that's now. And now you fast forward to today, and the doctors are just now getting the orders to do this brain scan and workup. All right, Diane remembers it. Diane Hubbard remembers it. So let me just play a little bit of this.
Judge, I apologize. I thought he had the doctor.
So the attorney for Wade Wilson is now apologizing to the judge, and the judge is like ignoring him. And he proceeds in court with the cameras rolling. He calls these guys and puts them on the spot.
It's well in advance because he's the one who mentioned CT scans to me in our telephone call on Tuesday.
He's pissed.
Good morning, Dr. Brandon's office.
Hi, this is Judge Nick Thompson. I've got you on speakerphone. I'm looking for Dr. Brandon, please.
So he called both the doctors, Dr. Rubino and Brannon. And Brandon's secretary goes on to really, she gives it to this judge. She gets a little snarky with him. And the judge is like, listen, let's just hear this. This is unbelievable because it's going to let you see the bullshit and how defense and how the courts drag shit out and they don't get stuff done. This is why cases drag on for sometimes years, but this one dragging on months and months. And this judge, Sean B., is not having it. He's pissed.
He is actually in court. Can I help you?
Yes. When will he be out of court?
Oh, I can't really tell you that.
Okay, generally, ballpark.
He's in a trial.
He is? What trial is he in?
He's actually in Palm Beach. It's a murder trial.
Which case, do you know?
Palm Beach.
Yeah, which case?
Marsha Thompson.
Okay. Wait, hello? Hello? Hey, what technical difficulties?
So when we try to log on, the problem is that he's not approved as a professional visitor. So it would be recorded, which it can't be. So there is a way to get him to be a professional visitor. It's just impossible to get a hold of the jail to then approve him to be that visitor. So
it's like a whole bunch of blah, 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 all kinds of red tape. And she's saying that he can't get into the jail to examine Wade Wilson and that he has to be approved. And the judge is like, why am I dealing with this on July 22nd? This is July. This date of this hearing was July 22nd, right? So after getting a hold of both of these doctors, they finally agree on the final agreement is on Dr. Brannon, and he tells them, the defense, it's the defense who's requesting it. The state already told her, they already gave their argument. They said, the state said, we feel that Wade Wilson is not brain damaged. This is bullshit. He is not brain damaged. All of the reports and all of the doctor's findings is hogwash. They've already said it. We do not agree with it. It's the defense that's doing it, and they're doing it to defend their client. And you got to give it to them because they're not giving up. But the bottom line is the way this is going, as you look at this July 22nd thing, and I'm going to let the rest of this play. It fast forward to today, they didn't do shit. They didn't get anything done. And Wade Wilson just sits there with that smirk on his face, and it's just it's an abomination. It's ridiculous.
That's kind of the issue that we were having.
Wilson?
I don't want to speak 100% for him, but I believe so. I'm not sure.
Let you all talk
First 2 weeks of
to each other about that. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, it gets good
No
here.
problem. Just keep me posted. Let me know.
All right. Bye-bye.
Listen to this now. This is after the judge heard all the bullshit from both of these doctors. Dr. Rubino, he got on the phone. He was nasty. Dr. Brannon, his secretary, was giving him all back and forth. But listen now to what the judge tells the defense and what he tells the state. Look at that piece of shit.
I do not.
All right. All right. Well, that gives me some more information then on what I guess has not been done.
Right. But at least with Dr. Brandon, that sounds a lot more feasible than the neurological examination.
All right. Well, state.
Judge, as far as Dr. Brannon, his schedule seems reasonable. I think Dr. Rubino is someone who's, we should not continue over 30 days for him, given that he hasn't reviewed anything. And not only that, but he's wanting to order this expensive testing that's really not probably going to happen. JAC is likely not going to fund it, and to send him out to do MRIs does not seem necessary given the lack of evidence we heard regarding brain damage. To me, it's just a fishing expedition to try to say that he has some sort of brain damage when the records and all the evidence that came out don't support that.
I love the district attorney. She said it's a fishing expedition on the behalf of Wade Wilson's defense. There is no sufficient evidence to support that he has brain damage. I love it. This is July 22nd, and this is the prosecution laying it out 100%, no fluff. She's calling out the defense and saying it's a fishing expedition. And I mean, I love this woman. I love the case, the way she presented the case. She is a fireball, and that's a great thing.
Seems reasonable. I think Dr. Rubino is someone who's, we should not continue over 30 days for him, given that he hasn't reviewed anything. And not only that, but he's wanting to order this expensive testing that's really not probably going to happen. JAC is likely not going to fund it, and to send him out to do MRIs does not seem necessary given the lack of evidence we heard regarding brain damage. To me, it's just a fishing expedition to try to say that he has some sort of brain damage when the records and all the evidence that came out don't support that. That's my opinion on Dr. Rubino. As far as Dr. Brannon, I would leave that to the court, whether a continuance should be allowed for him to do his work and to testify.
All right. Sure.
Judge, I'll try and get everything I can done with both of these within whatever time frame you set.
So the defense says, Judge, I'll get this done between these two doctors on whatever time frame you say I have to get it done by. Now you're going to hear it. Now you're going to hear that August 16th date, and they don't abide by August 16th. They double down and wait till today. They didn't wait till Monday. They waited till the 20th, Tuesday, the 20th, to ask for this brain scan, which to me is a big O.
Oh, hell no.
Well, I do.
It's all going to be paid by the state. state of Florida is paying for all this because his attorneys are paid by the state. He's got a legal aid attorney. It's not a private attorney. So the state, the Florida taxpayers, people that reside in the state of Florida, are paying for all of this hogwash.
Did take judicial notice. You mentioned the Zeiler case, so I did look at that. There was an order done to allow for MRIs to be done in that case. That was done, I believe, Radiology Regional. That was done before the trial. And
He also had actual evidence getting into car wrecks, I believe, of brain damage there was a factual basis.
Yeah, she's right. There was a history of brain damage.
He had
okay,
been in a motorcycle accident. Yeah.
So Wade Wilson was in a motorcycle accident, and it's documented. Obviously, there was a motor vehicle accident report, and he was hospitalized. But I want to preface this, and I'm going to put myself back on. If Wade Wilson was brain damaged, why wasn't he on Social Security? Why wasn't he deemed? Why wasn't he on Social Security disability? If he was officially brain damaged, then there was nothing else done. So it's all hogwash. This is all smoke and mirrors. This is all to try to avoid the death penalty by his defense team. That's what they're there for. You can't take it from them. That's what they're there for. But the bottom line is, this is all bullshit. Because if he was brain damaged, he would be getting paid. He would be on Social Security disability. I guarantee that. We know this is kiosk. This is kiosk Wade Wilson. This is a guy who asks everybody for money. Don't you think he was going to say to himself, if I can get some money, I got brain damage, I'm going to get a free Social Security disability payment every month. This guy drains the rag. He squeezes the sponge out of everybody. So if this was not pressing for him leading up to him becoming a homicidal maniac or a homicidal freak, going out and killing 2 women in a matter of hours, and then by his own admittance, he would have killed Mila. He would have killed his girlfriend at the time if there wasn't enough there was too many people around. Otherwise, he would have killed her. He said it himself. Melissa Montanez would have been dead. So he would have had 3 people killed. And if that cop would have tried to pull him out of that car, that body cam footage that we saw, if that police officer tried to pull him out of that car, I guarantee you he would have fought him and tried to kill him too. Who thinks that in the chat? If you feel that I'm on the money with with murder number 3 and possibly murder number 4 of a police officer, let me know by putting a 1 in the chat. If you don't think I'm right, put a 2. I would just be curious how many people feel the same way I do. And I thought about it when I saw that body cam footage. I said, shit, I wish he would have pulled him out. But then I said to myself, if he would have fucking probably killed him. Yeah, a lot of you guys agree with me. Yeah, I mean, that's my train of thought, that this guy would have killed anybody and everyone who got in his way that day. Everybody and anybody. And he broke into a house. He broke into a house that was empty. But did he know that house was empty? If that couple from, I believe, Ohio, I believe they were dual resident, they had 2 homes. I'm not sure if it was, I'm getting it right, Ohio or one of the other states up here, up north. If that older couple was home, you heard the woman testify that her and her husband left that morning. If they were home, we could have had 6 and 7, right? We say that the girlfriend 3, the cop 4, 5 and 6. I mean, we could have had victim 5 and 6 that day. If they were in that house, I know for a fact he would have killed those people. So, K-Mean, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you for joining the membership. All right, let's listen to this again. I'm getting off track here, but Wade Wilson was on a mission and to kill whoever he could kill that day. And he told his girlfriend when Mila called him in jail, he told her, she said, "Why did you do that? Why did you kill?" "I told you I was a murderer. You didn't believe me." She goes, I didn't believe you. I thought you were full of shit." "Well, I told you I was a murderer, and now I am." How he so nonchalantly referred to the women that he murdered, those good souls, our two victims, Diane Ruiz and Kristine Melton. How he referred to them as they were just trash. Just like, so be it. Yeah, I killed them. So,
Radiology Regional. That was done before the trial. And
He also had actual evidence getting into car wrecks, I believe, of brain damage there was a factual basis.
Yeah, she's right. There was a history of brain damage.
He had
okay.
been in a motorcycle accident. Yeah.
So then what is it that compels you to ask the court for a continuance to have these type of tests and this Dr. Rubino to help you in this case?
Well, as I stated initially, I'm not thoroughly convinced that Dr. Rubino is going to be able to provide any evidence that might tend to sway the court toward our position of life. I think
he's saying Dr. Rubino, he feels, won't sway the court to get life in prison without parole. And that's what he's fighting for in July 22nd. This is the date of this court hearing. And he's saying that Dr. Rubino is not going to be able to convince the court that he doesn't deserve the death penalty. I believe that this judge is reasonable and sensible, and he will go by the law. And the law states that if there is no mental defect, clear and evident, with science to back it up, he can and will go forward with instituting capital punishment, the death penalty. And that's exactly what Wade Wilson wants, according to him and his tough guy attitude. But I guarantee you that he doesn't want that. I guarantee you that he wants to be alive as long as he can be alive and to manipulate as many people behind bars and from behind the wall inside prison, as many people as he humanly can possibly manipulate. But guess what? If he goes and gets capital punishment, he's not going to have that kiosk. He's not going to have the phone calls. He's not going to have communication with the outside world unless people come that are on his list to be able to come. And it's going to be a very short list. He's not going to have what he has in the county jail right now. He's going to be fucked, basically.
Dr. Brandon certainly should have the opportunity to do that. And you know, whether it takes 3 weeks or takes 30 days. But I feel confident in speaking with Ms. Perez because she's worked with Dr. Brandon in the past, and I spoke with him last week, and he's already reviewed all of the documents. So he's got all the background information. I think he can hit the ground running, and we can at least use his testimony in order to provide some information to the court at the Spencer hearing. So,
All right. If I continue this, let's say I continue it to August 27th is a date that I have open. What I need to know from you is, and I have asked this question before, is everything done? Everybody is going to be able to have their work done. The answer I got was in the affirmative. So I'm asking this again, though, but I really need to know.
I will not be back in front of the court asking for further extension.
All right.
I will not be back in front of the court to ask for a further extension, is the defense. That's what the defense said. Who feels that Wade Wilson deserves and will get capital punishment? Press a 1 in the chat if you feel he will. Press a 2 if you would rather him be in life in prison without parole. Go ahead. Your vote counts. And Kristine, if you could start a poll, if you're listening, if you could start a poll, I'd like to get that poll to see how many people would be for the death penalty and how many would be for life without parole, because that's the only two possibilities that we have here. Looks like preliminarily I see a bunch of 1s. I haven't seen any number 2s. A bunch of number 1s. Okay, so the defense is saying on July 22nd that they won't ask for any furtherance. They won't ask for any delays from the court. I see a bunch of number 2s coming in too. I respect the 1s and 2s. I respect both sides. Like I said before, either way this goes, it's going to be a win for justice, because he won't ever get out because he'll be life without parole. The only drawback to life without parole is that he could escape. We have heard of prisoners escaping. He tried to escape while he was being held in the county jail. So he's already attempted escape. So if he gets life without parole, there's no guarantee that he won't somehow slip out. And you're going to hear later on about the jail not wanting to say when he's going to be brought for this brain scan, because they're worried that he could potentially get the word out to somebody out on the outside and him try to make a break for it. So interesting stuff, right?
Anything else from the state? Are you all available on August 27th?
State is, Your Honor.
Yeah, I'll have to be. I'll cancel whatever I have.
All right. Then I will grant the motion to continue to August 27th at 9 a.m. for the Spencer hearing. And then we'll set sentencing for 1:30, let's say 2 o'clock.
Okay, so July 22nd, the judge says August 27th, which is this Tuesday coming, a week from today. The Spencer hearing, the defense and a defendant must prove any mental defects before the court. The state attorney, the district attorney, can challenge and cross-examine any witnesses that the defense bring forward. So if the doctor comes forward and says at that Spencer hearing, which we'll hear next Tuesday before the sentencing, if at the Spencer hearing, the doctor says that Wade Wilson, Mr. Swastika here, that if Wade Wilson is mentally defective, the state, the district attorney, can cross-examine and challenge these witnesses. And the judge will make the ultimate and final decision. And that's coming on Tuesday. I'll bring that to you live.
Judge, if there's any issues with the jail, I would ask that the state be notified, because we have people we talk to in
Yes.
the jail that can assist in getting that
I will
done.
expect and require that counsel communicate with each other if there's any difficulties in accomplishing the work that anybody needs to step in to assist to get those communications accomplished.
It would probably work better if Dr. Brandon came over here, but once again, it's time and
So
expense.
that's more than a month
Yes.
for him to get the work that he's, been authorized to do
Yes, sir.
since April.
And Judge, we would expect in return, because this is being done at a sentencing rather than at the penalty phase, we would expect a report or something from Dr. Brandon prior to that Tuesday, so that we can prepare to cross him and do what we need to do on our end.
Well, I think that's reasonable. They should have it at least 10 days before.
Okay.
So,
Okay, the defense right there on July 22nd, I keep bringing up these dates. The defense said that they should have 10 days. The state should have 10 days to prepare cross-examination of their witnesses. It's now 7 days. So this was from July 22nd, and today is August 20th, and they don't even have anything from these doctors. Today, the judge approved the brain scan. Did the doctors do a in-person examination of Wade Wilson? I hope so, but it doesn't sound like it from what we heard today.
All right, so then by
August 16th.
what's the date on that?
He's going to look at his calendar and it's going to say August 16th.
So by close of business, Friday, August 16th, should I have any reports to the state?
That's fine.
All right.
We know that it's August 20th, and they're asking for permission from the judge to get a brain scan of Wade Wilson. A little effed up, don't you think? Phone calls from prison. Good to see you in the chat. Hey, everybody, if you're not subscribed to Phone Calls from Prison, they are the ones who are responsible for bringing not only all the Wade Wilson jail phone calls, but the Shonda Vander Ark case, the Chris Watts case, tons and tons of other cases. They bring and get those FOA. They go and get the FOIA requests and they get the goods and they share it out. They allow people to utilize those phone calls. And I see dozens and dozens of creators using it, but Jumpsuit Pablo, myself, we do the right thing. We credit where credit is due. And these folks, again, Shonda Vander Ark, a case I covered heavily. So shout out to Phone Calls from Prison. I'll link their channel in the description again. I may play some stuff from their channel tonight. We'll see if we have time. But shout out to Phone Calls from Prison. Everybody give them love.
If there are any other issues that could potentially cause delay, so by close of business, Friday, August 16th, should I have any reports to the state?
That's fine.
All right. If there are any other issues that could potentially cause delay, please file an appropriate motion and notice it for hearing. Get contact with the other side. Make sure you coordinate with them and contact my office to coordinate any other further hearings in that regard. And
Judge, obviously, the other thing the state would request is if Rubino is going to do his job of getting brain scans, that order be done.
it needs to be
Right away.
right away.
And it wasn't done right away. It wasn't done right away. This is July 22nd. How effed up is that? We're talking about a capital murder case. We're talking about the families of Diane Ruiz and Kristine Melton. That's what this proceeding is about. This is not about Wade Wilson. Fuck him. This is not about him. This is about justice for these families of the people he murdered. And the district attorney there told the judge and said to the attorneys, have your shit together. And it's clear and apparent that they don't have their shit together. It just boils my blood because I think about the families. I think about the victims' families, the kids. They're two grown kids from Diane Ruiz. They gave victim impact statements. The friends and family of Kristine Melton, who were in court and gave heart-wrenching testimony and victim impact statements. Diane Ruiz's fiance in court to give a victim impact statement. And this is what we get. This is what we get from the defense.
It would request is if Rubino is going to do his job of getting brain scans, that order be done.
It needs to be
right away.
Right away.
Right. First of all, I have to find somebody who will do it because Radiology Regional won't do it again.
Okay. Well, if it becomes necessary, if you deem it not necessary, obviously it's not an issue.
Right.
If it's something that you in good faith belief is necessary, then I think I would like to explore having it done as a mobile thing if possible. I understand what Dr. Rubino said on the phone, but I don't know if all the capabilities out there. But I would prefer that it be done mobile, that it be brought to, I guess, the core. They could do that at the core facility.
Right. Okay.
So if there's any issues with that, again, file a motion, contact.
Now we know that the brain scan is not going to be done inside the jail. He has to go out because, as we heard in the beginning of the show, I'll play it again. This is coverage from today.
Wade Wilson, the man convicted of murdering two Cape Coral women, will have his brain scanned before his sentencing next week.
This is today's news coverage on the brain scan. Fast forward July 22nd from what we were just watching to August 20th. And this is what got me really pissed off. There's going to be no MRI mobile. He has to go to a facility.
I'm Fox 4's Alex Orenchuk, and I was in court on Tuesday when a judge signed off on those scans. Wilson's attorney, Lee Hollander, argued Wilson should be able to have his brain examined with MRI tests and a CT scan. Hollander said that a doctor found signs that Wilson might have brain damage, and he wants to know for sure before the judge decides how Wilson will be punished.
Based on a report by Dr. Rubino, he recommended, well, first off, he found evidence indicating, possibly indicating traumatic brain injury.
So this is today. We just heard on July 22nd that Dr. Rubino was not going to be relevant here. Now, fast forward to today, this attorney is standing before the court and saying that Dr. Rubino found that he has traumatic brain injury. Dr. Brennan was the one who we came to a decision on July 22nd would be the doctor who would do the examination of Wade Wilson. So it's all of a sudden changed here on the 20th. This is the same buffoon. And I'm sorry I'm calling him a buffoon, but he's acting like a buffoon in my eyes. This is today. This was today, current day and age.
That's how Wilson will be punished.
Based on a report by Dr. Rubino, he recommended, well, first off, he found evidence indicating, possibly indicating traumatic brain injury.
Without a
Possibly indicating traumatic brain injury. We know defense attorneys will say anything to save their client. And that's what he's trying to do here. And I can't, that's his job. This is what he's supposed to do. As much as we hate it, as much as we hate defense attorneys defending murderers, he's a convicted murderer. The jury says and came down with and said that he should be put to death. Agatha Christie is laughing at my buffoon reference. Fitness, historic fitness says as a TBI survivor, he gives us a bad name. He gives anybody a bad name. But yeah, this is just frustrating, man. It frustrates me for the families. Again, they're the ones who have to sit and listen to this nonsense. But come hell or high water on Tuesday the 27th, there will be a court hearing. The Spencer hearing will happen early. And then at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Judge Thompson will come in that courtroom and hopefully we will hear that he will be put to death. And that's coming soon. Justice is coming, folks.
Objection from the state. Judge Thompson granted the motion. The Lee County Sheriff's Office will escort Wilson to the testing. The location and time of the testing are being kept secret for security purposes. Wilson was convicted on June 12th for the murders of 35-year-old Kristine Melton and 43-year-old Diane Ruiz. The results of his brain scan will be received before his sentencing next Tuesday. At Wilson's sentencing, Judge Thompson will decide whether to move forward with a jury's death penalty recommendation or give Wilson life in prison.
What do you guys think? I don't know if Kristen was able to get that poll up. Is Wade Wilson going to get the death penalty? That will be either by lethal injection or by electric chair. Good old Mr. Sparky. He'll have the choice. I don't even like that he gets the choice, but inmates on death row get the choice, either lethal injection. And he told his father and he told Mia that he wanted, Mila, he told her that he wanted to be put to death by lethal injection. Some people think he would get a pass. Some people think that he won't get a pass. I don't know. 85% say yes, 15% say no. Listen, my aunt is a Catholic nun. I tell you guys this all the time. And my aunt would be dead against this. She's a Catholic nun and she will not support the death penalty. Any good Catholic that's practicing will say no to it. I go to church. I'm a practicing Catholic, but I'm not on this one. I'm not gonna. I say that this guy is a danger to society, and if he has a chance, even a slight chance, of breaking out of prison, and we hear this all too often. Look at what happened recently in Virginia. There was that inmate that shot in 2015 a 1-year-old, and he got out. How did he get out? He was going to the hospital, and he got loose. They got him back into custody. But if Wade Wilson is sentenced to life without parole, nothing is a guarantee. Nothing's a guarantee. And if he got out again, think about how angry he would be and how much of a danger he would be to us, society. I don't know. Thank you to all of the members who became members here. I'm not closing yet. Our good friend, Dr. G Explains. I have reached out. I'm going to send him an email. I reached out by text. Dr. G is a forensic psychologist, and he did coverage on Wade Wilson when he was sentenced to death. I'd like to watch it because I didn't watch it in full. By a show of hands, who saw Dr. G Explains? He's a good friend of the channel. I love this man. He's a great, great friend. He did a analysis on Wade Wilson's reaction to the death penalty, his behavior and body language. It's only 14 minutes long. I'd like to watch it. I don't know. I'll go by what you guys think, but I'd like to hear what Dr. G has to say about this scumbag because he breaks him down. A lot of you might have seen it, but I think that it would be good for this particular show because he breaks down Wilson's body language. And I like Dr. G. I like him a lot. He's awesome. And I'm going to, let's see, I'll put it on a little quicker so we could listen to it and talk about it.
Noticing.
Oh, that's too slow. Dr. G. Put it on too slow. All right, we'll put it normal. There we go.
As they're getting the verdict form ready, is that he's leaning back. Now, this is an attempt to appear casual. It's an attempt to appear calm. As you can see, he's got his nose in the air. You're going to see a lot more of this. He's leaning back. He's trying to appear calm, but we're going to see there's probably a lot more emotion under the surface than initially meets the eye.
All right, verdict form appears to be in order. We'll let the clerk publish the verdict.
In the circuit court of the
Now, you probably noticed a lot of emotion just then. First thing you see is a heavy swallow. Now, as our mouths dry out, as we're getting more and more anxious, it makes us aware of the different processes going on in our body. So it ends up oftentimes causing us to think about the sensations in our throat, causes us to swallow. So you're seeing him swallowing, which means that he's got a lot of anxiety right now. You're also seeing him look around everywhere. He doesn't know where to put his eyes. There's a lot of anxiety and stress under the surface that he doesn't want to show. Like I said, the leaning back is an attempt to counterbalance how he's feeling, because right now he's probably feeling very intense. But as we're going to talk about with some of the tattoos, That's the last way that he would want you to think that he feels right now, I think.
All right, verdict form appears to be in order. Let the clerk publish the verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the 20th Judicial
See, there's those deep swallows again. He's starting to blink more. The stress is building and building.
Circuit in Forley County, Florida, criminal action, State of Florida versus Wade Wilson, case number.
You can also see his chest moving up and down pretty rapidly, actually. He's taking heavy, deep breaths. The reason we do that is when our heart pumps harder, when our heart beats faster, it uses up more oxygen. Therefore, we need to breathe heavier. We need to breathe more. So right now, you're seeing somebody who's feeling a tremendous amount of stress, as most people.
All right, I just want to stop it real quick, just for a second, because somebody said Dr. G is fantastic, but not a forensic psychologist. I have his description of his YouTube channel here, and it says, as a seasoned clinical and forensic psychologist, Dr. G brings extensive experience from thousands of forensic examinations to the table. So, Susan Victoria, just want to let you know, and everybody that's in the chat, sometimes misinformation gets put out there. Dr. G is a forensic psychologist. She's a clinical and seasoned clinical and forensic psychologist. Thank you.
Would in a situation like this, but he doesn't want to show it. So some people want you to see how stressed out they are. Some people do not. And some people don't seem to feel much of anything. I've absolutely watched verdicts being read where people seem to feel or experience very little. This does not seem to be the case with him. I think that he's someone that feels very intensely. And right now, as I said before, he's leaning back. He's got his nose in the air. We put our nose in the air to show everybody else that we're better than them, that we're above a certain situation. So he's basically saying, this doesn't affect me. But as we can see, it seems very much to affect him.
State of Florida versus Wade Wilson, case number 19 CF 568. Jury verdict form, penalty phase.
You can see his chest is really rising up and down. He's breathing. His breathing is becoming more labored. He's breathing heavy because he knows he's about to hear his fate.
We, the jury.
All right, now you see that little twitch in the corner of his mouth. So they said penalty phase, it's a big swallow, it's a twitch in the corner of his mouth. What this is his contempt. Now, most emotions we see on both sides of the body, except for contempt. So when somebody smiles, both sides, frowns, both sides, you get the idea. But when you see this weird little twitch, that is a contemptuous feeling. So he feels contempt that they're getting ready to read him this verdict, that they're getting ready to read him the penalty.
Jury verdict form, penalty phase.
That's the look right there. A one-sided smirk, a quick twitch on his face because the feelings of contempt are so intense. And part of the reason is that he has no control at this point. You got to realize somebody like him is going to absolutely want to be in complete and utter control at any given time. And in this situation right here, when you have a jury member reading something to you and you have no control, that's going to stir up feelings of contempt and probably other feelings as well.
Reasonable doubt that Wade Wilson was previously convicted of a felony and under sentence of imprisonment.
Now, something that's going to be absolutely torturous to him is how long it's taking, because there's a process. The jury has to read through this. They have to read the statement, in essence, that's written down.
Right.
And so he's not going to like this. He's going to want to just go ahead and get things over with. So he is sitting there. He is simmering. He's struggling to make it through this because he has to sit there and listen, yet he wants an answer quickly. So for somebody like him who's probably impatient, probably impulsive, this is going to be torturous for him, basically.
Or placed on community control or on felony probation. Yes. We, the jury, find unanimously that the state has established.
And as you can see, the deep swallowing again. He also looked at the camera right here. Watch this right here.
We, the jury.
He has a lot of anxiety and he knows it. And I think that he wants to make sure that everybody sees what he wants people to see. I mean, you have to think about the tattoos that he has. He's very big on appearance. You don't get a swastika tattooed on your face without knowing that people are looking at you and thinking about how people are perceiving you. He wants people to be afraid of him. He wants to be intimidating. He wants to control how others feel. And he has no control right now. So knowing he's being recorded, knowing this is taking a while, these are all things that are going to add to his frustration and his stress.
And remember, his father, in a statement, in an interview, Wade Wilson's father said his son is a coward and he's a coward towards men. And those tattoos that he got on his face was a facade for him to make himself appear to be tough. But his own father called him a coward. I found that interesting. And I don't know if, in fact, it's true, because I don't know how long the father was in his life. I know it was a short period of time, but he said it was enough to get to know him. And the father called his son a coward.
Jury find unanimously that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that Wade Wilson was previously convicted of another capital felony or of a felony involving the use of threat of violence to the person. Yes.
Now you saw him blink very slowly right there. Now blinking naturally is very quick. That was very slow, which means it was intentional. Watch this again.
Use of threat of violence to the person. Yes. We, the jury.
So that slow blink, this means that he is giving thought to how he's being perceived. He blinked slowly. He looked at the camera. He's trying to remain calm because I think that that's how he wants to appear to everybody else, that he's calm, that he's above this, that he doesn't care what's being said, that he doesn't care the outcome here, that he is unaffected, which once again does not seem to be the case.
Unanimously find that the state has.
And there was that contempt again. Watch this right here.
Yes, to the person. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find that.
So we, the jury, unanimously find. Immediately, I think he's preparing himself once again for what's getting ready to be said. He knows it's not going to go his way, but he knows how uncomfortable it's going to feel to have to hear this, to have to listen to this, to have people looking at him when this is being said. And so once again, there's that contempt right there.
Unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that the first-degree murder was especially heinous, atrocious, or...
She doesn't say heinous, right? She says heinous. What do they call that little man syndrome? Napoleon complex, I believe. Something like that. Napoleon complex.
Cruel. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that the first-degree murder was committed in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal justification.
I do think the fact that there's a process, the fact that he has no control, once again, is making him struggle. You see that he doesn't know where to look. He keeps looking around, and then he continues to look back at the camera. He seems to have this pattern of looking around, looking at the camera. There's just so much discomfort right now.
That Wade will.
I want to just expand on fragile like a bomb, like an A-bomb. You're 100% right, because I've arrested hundreds of domestic violence of men. I've arrested hundreds of men who put their hands on women, girlfriends, significant others, wives, friends of friends. Anybody, any man that puts his hands on a woman is a coward, no matter what. That there's just no getting around that. So I'd have to expand on that 99%, and I'd say 100%. Any man that puts his hands on a woman is a coward. 100%.
Wilson should be sentenced to death. As to count 4, first-degree murder, Diane Ruiz. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt.
And as you can see, he was taking deep breaths, staring straight ahead. After hearing that, trying to process the fact that they had basically said that he's going to get the death penalty. So at that point, he'd been waiting for it. He'd been anticipating it. And then he's trying to manage the feelings that come with that.
I love that Dr. G picks up on all of these really fine points. Wade Wilson is a attention whore. He loves the camera. He loves the fact that he was all over the news. We hear him in the phone calls, thanks to phone calls from prison. We hear him in the phone calls with all his girls and the kiosk girls and Kristen and all of them calling him and telling him you're all over the news. What? Oh my God. Oh, what? He loves it. And he's looking right at the camera. He sees the big ass camera. It's a TV camera. It's not some little teeny thing. It's a big ass camera that's right in his face.
Aggravating factors. We, the jury,
So if you look at the tattoos that he has, obviously there's a couple of swastikas there. The whole goal is to assert mental dominance over people so that when people look at him, they know that he is hateful. They know that he is angry, to go ahead and assert dominance of some kind. If you look at the mouth stitches, what looks to be sewn shut, it's presumably, I assume some of it, that's probably a throwback to the Joker from The Dark Knight, who had the cuts on his face. And so there's some idea that he's unpredictable, that he's wild. But the point is that with these tattoos, he is trying to wear who he is very much on his face. He wants you to see this. This is the goal of this, is to show you who he is. The goal of this is to make a statement when people look at him. So you got to think about the fact that somebody that has these types of tattoos really is trying to speak to people without saying anything.
jurors vote for the death penalty, your recommendation must be for a penalty of life in prison without the possibility of parole. If 8 or more jurors vote.
It also looks like he's trying to keep a slight smirk on his face right now. It's a little bit hard to tell. And the fact that there's that tattoo makes it more distracting, but it looks like he's trying to keep a slight smile on his face. Although based on all of the stress he's shown so far, I'm not sure that he actually feels any happiness or that he actually feels any degree of being pleased with anything going on right now. If anything, I think that he's probably very frustrated by the fact that he has no control in this moment. And, once again, you look at his tattoos, those are all about control and controlling how other people feel when they look at him.
For the death penalty, your recommendation must be for the death penalty. We have further considered whether Wade Wilson should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole or death. We, the jury, find by a vote of 10-2 that Wade Wilson should be sentenced to death. Dated this 25th day of June, 2024, in Lee County.
Now, right now, to me, after they'd said that he should be sentenced to death, he looks to me like he's trying to hide a little bit, because at that point, he's sitting very still. Watch this part right here.
Of 10-2 that Wade Wilson should be sentenced to death. Dated this 25th day of June, 2024, in Lee County, Florida, 4-person, 230.
So oftentimes when we feel danger, when we feel a threat, we tend to freeze. And I think at that moment, that's exactly what's happening. He's freezing. He hears that he's going to be sentenced to death. That makes him freeze. And that's the body responds to that in a very literal way.
Lorna McKenzie says a face only a mother could love, and a whole bunch of crazy women, a whole bunch of crazy mothers. We know Kristen is a mother at the time. I know that she's on a tour of saying that was then and this is now, and I was stupid and I was naive and I was crazy and this and blah, 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 blah. Kiosk Kristen is now trying to take it all back. But you can't take back what you said. And she's on the prison phone telling this guy that he's sexy as hell and that she's going to come and see him and have a conjugal visit with him and all kinds of craziness. So a face only a mother could love, yes, Lorna McKenzie, but also a bunch of psycho women and men, including Joey, his male lover that he's going to get married, that he's going to marry, Joey, in jail.
Does anybody want the jurors to be polled?
Yes, please.
Okay. Members of the jury, we're going to ask each of you about the jury's decisions that you have just heard. And I'm going to go juror by number. So juror, do you time and consideration of this case? I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. With that, we thank you again for your service. Gather your belongings, make sure you don't leave anything in the jury room, and the bailiff will escort you out. You are discharged.
All right.
As you can see, he turns to actually face the jury a little bit. He's keeping his chest open, basically saying, I don't feel threatened by you. I'm going to stay open and I don't need to protect myself from you. He's also got his thumbs tucked into his pants, which in some ways is to show that he's feeling casual. It's an attempt to try to appear nonchalant about what's going on. But as he's facing the jury, it's meant to both not only look nonchalant, but also to look intimidating. The idea of facing them, the idea of looking at them. I mean, you really have to consider the fact that this is someone who has literal visible swastikas tattooed on his face and on his head. The goal of intimidating people is clear for him. That's obviously something that's important to him and something that he wants to do. And I really think that he's trying to do that right now.
All right, please be seated. All right. What says the state in regards to...
Look at how this freak sits with his legs open. I mean, I hope Dr. G says something about that here.
Sentencing, I know we have to have a spin.
And look how wide open his legs are right now. Now, part of the reason we do this is to assert dominance, is to show I can take up as much space as humanly possible. I'm going to show no deference to the court. I'm going to be as big as I can be because I'm important and I can take up whatever room I want.
Spencer hearing.
You need to go ahead and...
So we'll go ahead and stop here. Today, we saw somebody who seems to really want to give off the impression that they were feeling calm, that they were above everything going on around them, that they weren't intimidated by the things happening. But at the same time, it appeared at times that he wanted to intimidate. He wanted to scare the jury, I'm guessing. He wanted to feel powerful in those moments because this, in a very real way, is a situation where he doesn't have any power. Hopefully this is helping you better understand.
All right, so that was I played it as quickly as possible. Dr. G Explains did a great job. Jumpsuit Pablo. If you want to, watch the phone calls, I've taken a backseat to the phone calls because I don't feel like I could really add any value to the phone calls. I choose to listen to it when Jumpsuit does it, and if I want to listen to uninterrupted phone calls, and I love his interruptions. I listen to phone calls from prison. But yeah, I mean, Dr. G, great resource as it pertains to Wade Wilson and any forensic analysis and body language analysis. Also, I came across a great channel. It was Crime Atlas. I don't know. Have any of you guys followed Crime Atlas? One of our listeners recommended him to me, or I don't even know if it's a guy or a girl, but he did. I'm just gonna play a little bit of it, but basically he did a little documentary, like a docu-series on this whole case. And I saw some people in the chat asking about the case, and I found it surprising that some people wouldn't know about the case, but there's a lot that don't know about it. But Wade Wilson is a brutal murderer. He killed 2 people, and if he had his way, Melissa Montanez would have been dead, his girlfriend, who he stole her car from her on that fateful night on October 6th, leading into October 7th. And I believe he would have killed that police officer if he would have tried to get aggressive with him and pulled him out of the car. And I'm thankful that he didn't. But when I first initially saw the police body cam footage, I was angry that he didn't, because I was like, I would have taken him out at gunpoint or whatever and got him down on the ground. But this guy would have probably tried to kill that police officer. So that would have been victim. He has 2 victims under his belt. That would have been his girlfriend would have been victim 3. The police officer could have been victim number 4. And if those 2 homeowners were in that home he broke into randomly, if they were there and didn't take a flight out that morning, I believe those 2 homeowners would have been killed as well. I don't think that he would have been nice to them. So Wade Wilson could have potentially killed 6 people that day. He only killed 2, and that was enough. But anybody know of this channel, Crime Atlas? Unbelievable channel. He did a great job. 36 minutes. I recommend you go and watch it. I'll play just a little bit of it, and I'll give him, obviously, credit him in the description. But just let's take a look at this. This is I don't know, over a month ago. He did this 2 months ago. I thought this was good. Anybody watch it?
Of human behavior. It is the deliberate choice to inflict harm, to revel in the suffering of others, and to disregard the sanctity of life. The crimes committed by Wade Wilson exemplify this kind of evil. Wilson's heinous actions reveal a man utterly lacking in empathy or remorse, highlighting the hostility that can reside in some individuals. However, his story also showcases the resilience, integrity, and strength of the people and systems that resolutely opposed his actions and worked tirelessly to secure justice for the victims. Let's dive into the harrowing case of the face of evil.
Crime Atlas. If one of the mods could put the channel in the chat, it's right up here. The Crime
It
Atlas.
was a seasonably warm 84 degrees in Fort Myers, Florida on the evening of October 6th, 2019. Melissa Montanez and her boyfriend of 6 months, Wade Wilson, decided to head to the Buddha Bar for a night of drinks, music, and fun. According to a police report, they pulled up in Melissa's sleek gray 2015 Dodge Hellcat. Inside the bar, however, it was anything but sleek, as a heated argument erupted between them about Wade's desire to leave and visit someone's house, a plan Melissa was firmly against. Frustrated, Wade claimed he needed to grab something from the car and went outside. Moments later,
and this photograph that he shows here is the photograph of him when he was booked. And he just had tattoos on his neck and on his arms. He didn't have any of those swastikas and all the other tattoos across his face and all on the other side here on the left side of his face. So this shows that this is what he looked like. the day he was arrested.
Melissa followed, only to witness her Hellcat leaving the parking lot. Strangely, Melissa didn't observe Wade in the driver's seat. The harsh reality dawned on her. He had abandoned her. Stranded without a ride and not wanting to go home, Melissa reached out to her friend Amy, who promptly picked her up and took her back to her place. Exhausted, Melissa soon passed out. By 8 a.m. the next morning, she groggily realized that Wade had been trying to contact her multiple times from an unfamiliar number. When she finally picked up, Wade's voice came through, loud and furious, demanding to see her immediately. Uneasy due to his history of violence and drug use, Melissa agreed to meet in public at her workplace. She asked Amy to come with her for support and safety, and Amy agreed. As soon as Wade pulled up to her location, she knew something was off, as she did not recognize the car he was driving.
So where did you agree to meet him?
Mila Spa.
And this is Melissa Montanez, his girlfriend's testimony in court. This is from court.
Now, when you arrived at Mila's Spa, did you see your Hellcat?
No.
Did you see a different car?
Yes.
And was it a car that you recognized?
No.
I'm showing you State's Exhibit 5. Does this look like the car that he was driving?
Yes.
And again, was that a car you had ever seen before?
No.
Now, when you got there, did you get out and try to talk to him?
Yes.
And again, what were you trying to talk to him about?
I went to the driver's side window. He wrote it down. I said, "Where are my keys? Where's my car?" He was calm and just saying, "Get in the car, get in the car." And it escalated quickly.
Did you agree to get in the car?
No.
And when you would not agree to get in the car, how did he act?
Violent, aggressive, tried to pull me in the car physically. And I resisted, got plank style so that he could not grab me into the vehicle.
When you say you got plank style, could you just show the jurors what you mean by that?
And I was being pulled into the car by my dress.
Okay, so for the record, you just stood up and put your hands straight above your head.
Yes, so that I was not being able to be budged into the vehicle.
And you said he's pulling at your dress.
Yes.
Can you describe in more detail how he's pulling at your dress?
He's pulling dress, probably a little hair, everything, and then the dress starts to rip off of my body.
He was ripping the dress off of her body. And that was the fateful morning before he killed the second victim, Diane Ruiz. He went to her. And he was violent. And he hurt her. And he assaulted her. And he admits that if there were not a lot of people around and there wasn't more people around, he would have killed her.
And what happens after that?
Once he realizes that the threads were becoming, I was getting away from him and he was still holding onto the dress, he opens the car door, obviously forgets to put it in park. The car starts to roll forward. He tackles me to the ground. The car grazes both of our legs and I'm pummeled to the ground.
How hard did he push you to the ground?
I'm sorry, I don't recall. This is also fast and he's very heavy and I'm 5'2", he's 6'6", so.
Now,
just a disclaimer, I believe he's 6'3". She said 6'6" at the trial. Everyone gets caught up on that. But she was trying to give her best testimony there. And again, everyone's getting caught up on that 6'6", but he's 6'3". He's much bigger than she is.
what happens after you are pushed to the ground?
I start to get beat.
Okay. Describe what you mean when you say he was beating you.
It all went so fast and so slow, whether it be punches, slapping, choking, that kind of nature. Yes.
Now, you mentioned that the fight is happening around the car. Does the fight move at some point?
Yes. So I either get drugged, pulled, can't remember, by my hair, arm, or dress, to I'm trying to reason with him, trying to talk to him, but there's nobody behind those eyes anymore. So there was no reasoning with him. I got to the the front of the staircase, and I'm holding on to that, and a crowd begins to develop. I'm expecting people to help, call 911. So I'm just trying to bide my time at that point as quickly as help can get there. And that's not working either. I'm starting to get punched and grabbed and choked and all kinds of things again. Somehow we move up to the upper level. I'm trying to convince him, let's just go in Mila's spa. We'll talk about it there. We're safe there.
Melissa eventually managed to break free and ran to a nearby business seeking safety. Moments later, at 8:48 a.m., Fort Myers police arrived at the scene of the altercation. Multiple 911 calls had reported a man assaulting a woman. Officer Tim McCormick met Melissa at the Mila Spa in downtown Fort Myers, where she identified Wade Wilson as the assailant. She recounted the harrowing assault and mentioned that Wade was last seen driving a black Nissan Versa. By then, Wade had already fled the scene, prompting the police to issue an alert for his capture. At the station, Melissa provided detailed information during an interview with a detective. She explained that she and Wade had been together for 6 months after meeting through a mutual friend. They lived together for the first 2 months until Wade was incarcerated for about 3.5 months. Despite his imprisonment, Melissa maintained contact with him and decided to give him a second chance upon.
And we heard those phone calls from courtesy of phone calls from prison of Melissa Montanez, Wade Wilson's girlfriend, talking to him, but she also got him to confess to her on those jail phone calls that he said to her, and I listened to those calls multiple times, about how he killed the 2 victims. And he was very nonchalant about him murdering them. And he told Melissa here, he said, I told you that I'm a murderer. I am a killer. She goes, but I didn't believe you. I thought you were just talking shit. And he told her that he's a murderer. He goes, and now I am. He said it just like that. I told you I was a murderer. You didn't believe me, but now I am. Yeah, he left. Thank you, Stacy. This guy's repulsive.
His release. While she had heard from others about Wade's abusive behavior, her primary concern was based on her own experiences with him. Wade's criminal records, however, revealed him as a habitual offender with over 20 arrests since 2010 for charges including fraud, trespassing, and physical abuse. In subsequent court testimony, Wade's biological father provided additional insight into his son's upbringing.
Good morning. Please state your name for the record.
Stephen Testaseca.
Mr. Testaseca, where are you employed?
I'm self-employed.
What type of work do you do?
Window and door replacement.
Are you married?
Yes, ma'am.
What is your wife's name? How old are you, sir?
46.
You know someone by the name of Wade Wilson?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you know Wade Wilson?
He's my son.
How old were you when you found out you were going to be his father?
14 or 15.
How old was his mother at the time?
Jeep Girl, feel better. Jeep Girl is going through some health issues, getting treatment for reoccurring cancer. So Jeep Girl, we're sending you love, strength, prayers, positive vibes, and all goodness. Thank you for being a moderator. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a part of this community. And I'm sending you all my best. And we all are.
A year younger than me.
Now, were either of you in a position at that age to be able to raise him?
No, ma'am.
Was he placed up for adoption?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was he adopted by?
Candy and Steve Wilson.
And did they have any connection to you or Wade Wilson's mother?
They went to church with Wade's mother's parents.
So that was how they connected and ended up raising Wade Wilson?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do they have any other children?
Yes, ma'am. 2 daughters.
Now, at some point, did you and Wade Wilson connect?
Yes, ma'am.
How old was Wade Wilson when he connected with you?
18.
And was he wanting to connect with you because you were his biological father?
Yes.
And up until that point, had you ever met him?
No, ma'am.
Did you end up attempting to have a relationship with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he seem to want to have a relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, did you have phone calls often?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have occasions where you would see each other?
No, I went up and visited him one time in Tallahassee.
Okay. Now, did he often ask you for money?
Yes, ma'am.
Did
he often ask everybody for money? Yes, ma'am. He probably asked everybody and anybody for money all the time. And now we're hearing about it in jail.
relationship turn into a situation where he was just asking for your help?
Yes, ma'am.
As Melissa's interview with the detective continued, she expressed that she was terrified of Wade, believing that if he had succeeded in forcing her into the vehicle, she would not be alive to tell her story. Melissa mentioned to the detective that Wade had been calling her in the morning hours from numbers she did not recognize, including one with a 603 area code that police ran against a database. They learned the number belonged to a Kristine Melton of Cape Coral, whom Melissa had never heard of. Soon thereafter, officers arrived at Kristine Melton's home on the 4000 block of Tudor Drive, only to discover that officers from a neighboring jurisdiction were already on the scene.
10, we have an update on a story that we've been following all day. Cape Coral police confirmed that they are investigating the death of a woman who lived on Tudor Drive. That woman has been identified as 35-year-old Kristine Melton. Viewers
So this is the sad story of Kristine Melton and Diane Ruiz being murdered by Wade Wilson. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to link in the description. There's another 15 or 20 minutes of this, and it goes over the whole thing. I recommend you go watch it if you want to catch up and be up to date on everything. Again, there was a lot of phone calls, and I want to say that phone calls from prison uploaded a phone call from prison from Breezy. She passed away on February 11th of 2024 from a drug overdose. She is talking and having a good old time with Wade Wilson while he's in prison, while he's in jail. Prison comes after he gets sentenced, obviously, but he's in jail and she's yucking it up with him. She was fighting different things that she had going on in her life, but she died in February, and may she rest in peace. She left behind 2 children and family that miss her. But again, I'm not here to judge anybody. These are prison calls. Wade Wilson will talk to anybody and everybody, including, we heard him talk to Joey, his male lover. According to that phone call, he told Joey that he loved him. Joey told him that he loved him, and he said he would marry him. These are all calls that we'll continue to hear. If you want to get those phone calls from prison is the place to go. I want to thank you guys for hanging out for an hour and a half with me. This is a tragedy, but justice is going to be had for the victims. And Kristine Melton and Diane Ruiz, those are our victims here. And again, I can't overemphasize the importance of keeping them and their families in your thoughts and prayers. This is what this case is about. It's, we're listening to the phone calls and we're getting all of the information online, and that's all providing entertainment for us. But in the grand scheme of things, these people had families that are left behind. So sending strength, prayers, and positive vibes to the Melton and the Ruiz family and all of the prosecution and everybody who had to be involved in this case, from the EMTs, the paramedics, the hospital staff, everybody who had to deal with the aftermath of Wade Wilson. He's a demon, and I hope that he fries. I'm hoping that old Sparky or the good old lethal injection gets put into play in the next 10 to 20 years. But I'll see you guys on the 27th, which is next Tuesday. I will cover that trial, that sentence live. I hope you guys consider giving the thumbs up to this video, subscribing if you're not subscribed. I believe we went over the 341,000 mark today. So thank you to all of the new subscribers, the old and everything in between. Thank you to the channel members. Thank you for the folks who buy us super chats and cups of coffee and become Patreon supporters. You're what makes this a great place. The replay viewers, I love you guys tremendously. And leave us a comment down below in the comment section. Let me know what you think about Wade Wilson's attorney requesting the brain scans. Do you think it was necessary? Do you think that that was just hogwash, as we put it, a way for them to try to give him another opportunity to save him from being put to death in the state of Florida? The jury already said they want him put to death. It's up to the judge. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Thank you all for being here. I do not take any of your subscriptions and your support for granted, and I thank you all for it. Each and every one of you are valuable. Without an audience, live streams are nothing. Without interaction, without your questions, we got nothing here. So thank you all for being here. Love and respect from my house to yours. God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, but especially the victims and their families. We send them strength, prayers, and positive vibes. Good night from New York. I love you all. See you soon.